start over on that one. Uh, so Monday is not a work day at the Capitol. So really our action items are ensuring that we get those emails out to the committee. Liz and I did meet earlier today and, we thought we got a lot of really good information, a lot of good talking points. If anybody needs that email, let us know and I can shoot that over to you. But we did send it out in a bulk email from New Approach, and it does have all the email addresses, some talking points, a mock letter, just to give you an idea of what to write. Please don't copy and paste it. Definitely make that your own. We did lose 2 work days because of the Capitol being closed. So those emails are vital that they end up in a legislator's inbox before Tuesday morning. If anybody's planning to be at the Capitol, that meeting does start at 7:45 a.m. Tuesday morning on the 4th floor. So now I will open it up for questions. I'm so sorry.
Hey, this is Tom Overly. I plan on being at Pier about 4 or 5 Tuesday morning, but I have to park in the handicap parking area. What's the easiest way to get to? I guess this is room 412 from there. Do you know? I'm not familiar at all with the Capitol.
Yes. So the handicap parking is on the north side of the building, and there is a door right there that comes into security. If you park on, I believe it is the the west end, east end of it, it is kind of a long walk, but there are some handicap spots right there also.
Oh, okay.
But everybody will have to enter through the back of the Capitol through either the side door where they have the handicap parking or the main back door, because that is where the security is.
Okay.
So we look forward to seeing you, Thomas.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else with any questions or comments or?
So I have a question. This is Shannon. My husband and I used to both have medical cards, and we, quite frankly, didn't even need both of them because we never went through that much to actually need them. So we're down to just one, and he's got the one because he needs it for work, and I don't. Does that matter if you're sending an email off if you don't have a medical card?
No, it doesn't matter if you're a card holder or not. I will say, patient protections are out there for a reason, and I would definitely get your own card. Just, I look at it this way. The entirety of the program is set upon how many cards are in the state. Um, Legislators have used that decreasing card number to say, well, maybe the program isn't working as well as it's supposed to. Maybe more people are buying off the black market. So I do encourage everybody to get their own card, because the last place or position you would ever want to be in is having a spouse or a friend purchase for you and then you getting in trouble for it and then them losing their card also.
Yeah, and it really just came down to money with us. Like we couldn't afford, how much they were asking for 2 renewals the last year that we did it. But yeah, I did see the stats about like it going from like 13,000 down to 11,000 or something like that. So yeah.
That is correct. It's been a deep dip, and when we look at the businesses that have closed since the election, a lot of that really plays into how many cards are out there and how many people are actually participating in the industry.
So how does this affect the tribal stuff going on in Flanders? Like what would happen with them? Or does it go back to like how it was before? Like they're not part of this because of the tribal situation.
None of the state laws affect Flanger at all. In fact, Flanger opened up July 1st of 2021. which was about a year before any operators on the state side were open. They did quite robust business down there. They're still up and running. So none of this would affect any of the tribes.
Yeah, I remember my husband and I started off in Flanders. Again, we both started off with cards out there, but we live like 45 minutes away from Flanders, so that sucked. And that's why we switched over to the state ones when it became available.
Nope, that makes sense. Absolutely. And the
Yeah.
state side has a lot of really good options, a lot more selection and SKUs are out there for people to try. So you can do a little bit of everything, not just flour and one or two options for edibles. That market has really expanded, which is nice for patients.
Did they kill that bill where you have to have the two doctors' signatures?
Yes, 1055 was tabled to the 41st day, 2.5 weeks ago.
Okay.
Hey guys, I don't know if you can see my hand up, but I want to jump in here really quick. Talking about having a card. Shannon, I just want you to understand that if you're using cannabis and you do not have a medical cannabis card, while we do have patient protections written into the law, you're still risking arrest and you're risking some punishments for that. Even just for the simple fact that it seems a lot of the judges in the state, at least where I am, West River, don't understand how patient protections are supposed to work. So I just felt like it was really important to let you know that having your card really is what protects you. That's the best protection from being arrested for cannabis use.
Can I throw something else out about the cards? And
Mhm.
my wife has a card, but it's a caregiver card. There's no cost for that.
I actually looked into it last year. There is a cost for it. Because when it
Oh, there
first
is?
started with the medical card, it first started where it was free and it was like basically you just signed a signature online kind of thing. But now you actually have to pay because you have to submit your background check. So you actually have to go down and do that.
That's a different thing, but I know what you mean there. My wife had to do that, but it's,
Yeah. It just seemed like
And
a
I
lot
just want to
needed be
really
done.
quick too, I just want to mention that if a person is a caregiver and not a patient, that doesn't authorize them to use cannabis. It only authorizes them to grow for their patient or go into the dispensary and make purchases on behalf of the patient, but it does not legalize use.
Right.
I just want to be really clear here. I don't want people walking away and not understanding that portion of the law.
Yeah.
that's okay. I knew that.
Yeah, and the goal is to always has been for New Approach to ensure that patients know their rights because, we live in a state that historically has not been real respecting of those rights. So it's important just to make sure everybody has factual information.
Now, what would happen for renewal? Like my husband has his renewal coming up here in March. Like what if they if this sucks and this comes crashing down on us, like what are we even going to be able to renew it for a couple months? Like do you guys know anything about that?
There is, so I will say this, we always have a plan B for no matter what scenario would happen here. If this would pass out of committee, we would then start working the House floor in hopes to have it tabled on the House floor. If it would pass, the House floor would end up in Senate Health and Human Services, which would give us another opportunity to have it tabled. If it made it out of there and onto the Senate floor again, another opportunity to have it tabled. We're getting down to really the nitty gritty of legislative session. I believe we're just about, let me double check here, about 10 days away from crossover day, which is the day when every bill has to go back to its chamber of origin. It's a really big deal at the Capitol. There's been years where they'll cover the clock on the floor. So it does look like February 24th is the last day to move required delivery bills or resolutions by a committee to the House of Origin, and last day to use during resolution 517. And the 25th is the last day to pass bills or joint resolutions by the House of Origin. So everything has to be through on the 24th and 25th. And then March 3rd is the last day for House of Origin to pass special appropriations bills. So we're really getting down to the end. So we are 8 days away. Let me just make sure I got that right. 16. Yeah, we're 1 week from tomorrow is crossover day. And so that means that things will move really, really quickly. So if this comes out of committee tomorrow or Tuesday, what will happen is it's going to immediately be scheduled for the floor. When things start getting really fast like that, it will be, you'll feel like you're kind of running in place on a hamster wheel, because it's going to be immediately to the House floor, and then it's going to immediately be punted into the Senate. So if that were to happen, we would have to really up our strategy. If these bills there are 2 bills, there are another patient protection bill. I did drop the link into the downloadable document in the chat. So there's more information in there, but if these 2 bills make it out, especially if 1101 makes it out, our goal would be then to basically petition the governor not to sign it. And, having him not sign it is, our next option. If Governor Roden were to sign the repeal, what we could do as an organization is immediately get into putting it back on the ballot. That would essentially hold the program as it is until it went back to a vote of the people. Do I think, based on the responses that we have seen and the responses that have been shared with us by other patients, that we're going to end up in that position? I don't. I do think we're going to have a bit of a fight on our hands on Tuesday. The gentleman who brought this bill forward was pretty adamant about not wanting the program in the state, so much so that he did attempt to run a ballot initiative to repeal it. So, I just say, make sure you're sending the emails out. There are some legislators that are on the committee that do have phone numbers that are not the Capitol lines, that you are able to call them on, whether it be their cell phone number or their house number. If you do that, please be respectful, have kind conversations, tell them your concerns about this, and ensure that, that they know that you would like a no vote on 1101. Ned, Liz, anybody want to pop on and give us any more information?
I think Ned hopped off, but I guess I'm just wondering if people on the call, Thomas, you said you're coming. Shannon, you mentioned you might be. Is anybody else coming too?
Are you talking to the Capitol?
Yes.
Is this bill the Travis Ismay full repeal bill?
Yes, it is.
I mean, I can be there, but I'm not. I'm not really interested in kindly, like, I think strategically the weed movement is justified in employing the tactic of shaming without going overboard, basically saying, my whole thing is, I don't know how this Travis guy can invoke God's name to bully and pick on really defenseless people, and I'm not going to be nice about it. I've already talked to Travis directly. He called me a punk and hung up on me. He's not he has I actually talked to a reporter at one of the news channels here who emailed back that he has a reputation for being a jerk. So I think this is an opportunity to highlight that the only people against medical cannabis are people whose actions demonstrate very unchristian, jerky attitudes. And that's what at this juncture, likely the only thing that I'm going to be sharing there. I'm going to say we're not interested in, or I'm not speaking for the whole movement, but as a cannabis patient myself, I'm not speaking for everyone, but I don't owe you any more time to educate you. We've spent 15 years doing that. We've got people dying in 6 years that are suffering for real now, that are friends and family that we all know personally. And to have you again come in and invoke God's name is offensive. And it's an emotional argument that Travis is advancing. And I don't think we owe it respect. I don't think we owe it a comeback. And that's actually the message that I think would carry the day is it's kind of like the wrap up smear tactic where you say this guy, you label him as a bad person, and then you put it in a box and package it for the media. Travis has already done that work for us.
Well, hey,
And so I
so,
will
sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Well,
I was just gonna say, Jason, well, I don't necessarily disagree with you, and I too am frustrated, after a decade of doing this education. I just want to remind people this is a wind up. This is step one. There's like a 5-step process to get a bill from this form all the way to signed law. Now, I think for tomorrow, a show of force, we come in, we do stay respectful with this committee. This committee is not Travis's May, right? And when we're
Wow.
addressing the committee, I feel we do need to be respectful. Now, if this committee passes this out to the floor, that's when things will escalate. And that's where our messaging gets a little bit more intense or a lot more intense at that point to try and kill this in the House before it makes it to crossover day to the other chamber. And given the fact that we do have a brand new set of lawmakers here, I think somewhere between 1/3 and 2/3 of our legislature is brand new. They honestly don't know the history. They don't know what we've done. They don't know the education we've given over the last 10 years. They're new to it. And so at this point, what the goal is to not only kill this bill, but to indeed educate these folks that we voted for this. We knew what we voted for, and we stand up for it every single time. We've stood up for it for 4 years. We've had some really great successes. We've also had some setbacks. But I want to remind people we've even gone so far as to had the ability to expand qualifying conditions. By working with some of these folks in the legislature. And I think that we do really need to see what happens in the committee before we start putting on a lot of pressure in the way that you're describing, Jason. And those are just my thoughts on this, having been in peer for several issues this year.
I completely agree, and I'll defer to you based on your tactically, you're correct. It's a third. I haven't tried to go in blindly. So yes, there's 30 freshman lawmakers and a very small subset that are there's an advantage there to maybe say, hey, Ismay's statements and actions are very not nice. But if it's the whole committee as our audience, then yes, I agree the focus should not be arguing with who's a jerk, but actually we should take the opportunity to educate these people because yes, they're new to it. And this issue hasn't really been at the forefront of their minds as lawmakers until we bring it to them. So I mean, we can do that instead. We can do the education path. But I'm not actually necessarily frustrated. I think this is an opportunity for a tactical advantage where we don't have to argue or debate the issue. We take the high ground that medical is an established scientific fact, and anyone who doesn't want to come to the table to regulate it safely isn't worth taking seriously. And I don't think this is that big of a threat unless they do some last minute sneak it in through a backdoor amendment to a bill stuff. And I don't think that Travis and his cohorts are going to have that kind of pull, hopefully.
Well,
Right. And I think that show of force, like all these emails we've been asking you guys to send the last several weeks, and these phone calls and all this, that's what they need to see. They need to see that people care. And we talk about this quite often, but when people share their emails in their own words, their own organic stories, a lawmaker is going to assume that at least 10 people in their district feel the same way. And so every email, every phone call, everything that you send is amplified 10 times. So if we managed to get 5,000 emails sent over the course of this, take that times 10, and that's what they're going to assume the support is. On top of that, we have all these statistics we keep putting onto our documents, but we did pass this law in the second largest voter turnout in South Dakota history. And the largest was 2004, not 2024. In 2024, we saw these new lawmakers get their seats because the people in their districts were frustrated with their predecessors not voting with the will of the people when it came to the pipeline issue. So this is the same thing. They already know the power of the people and the power of the vote because they are literally sitting there for that exact reason. So that's why I feel the strong showing at this point could be enough to kill this. But if not, yes, we do have to get more aggressive.
and I do want to just be really clear with everybody. So our organization has been coordinating with other organizations, including the CISD, We've spoken with Genesis, and through them, we have a commitment between the three largest pieces of this that all testimony given on Tuesday will be very finely selected. If we're going to decide the fate of this bill in 15 minutes or 10, because last week we had 10 minutes, we are definitely going to need those emails out because that's what they're going to see. That's what the push is. But actual testimony during that committee meeting will be very, very tight, and it will be scheduled before we go into that room. There
Can I
will
pop
be,
in?
yeah, absolutely.
I just want to give people a reminder of a couple of years ago when we were facing this and they kept attacking us is people did get nasty with other people in the legislature, and we actually had a couple of people stand up and start crying while they were talking about the way they were getting treated by constituents. And I would hate to alienate them when we can persuade them in a non-emotional way.
Yeah, we had the same issue in Iowa where emotionality would steal the substantive arguments. I don't think I'm going to bring that to the table. I am going to discuss the substantive laws that they're claiming to invoke. I'm not there. I'm not planning on giving testimony to them directly there.
Okay.
I'm done. So I
Maybe this is
appreciate
a
what you
good
guys are
time.
doing.
Maybe this is a good time to talk about the different kinds of testimony that can be given too. Sorry, my internet's kind of making things cut in and out, Jason. I apologize for that. But in addition to giving verbal testimony in person and online, you can submit your testimony to the committee. And there's an email on the document that Melissa linked in the chat that you would send that into. Now, the difference between sending an email to the committee and sending in your testimony to the committee for the hearing is that your testimony will be printed out and handed to every single member on that committee, and it will be entered officially as evidence in this hearing. And so that's another way to be able to get that point across in the hearing in a way where everybody has time to get their points across.
Give me for the question. What's the committee? Is it public health and safety or?
House
There-
Health and Human Services.
and there's a
And-
link in the chat.
What's the committee's main concern that they're going to try and address? Is it going to be public safety, children, driving, law enforcement concern? Do we know what that is? Like what would
Well, so
people
we've
want to
already done
tailor
a
the
lot of that.
testimonies?
We've already done a lot of that too in other committees as well. We were in House Judiciary last week, killing 1123, which was a bill being brought by Mary Fitzgerald. If you guys happen to know who Mary Fitzgerald is, her husband we used to be the state's attorney for Lawrence County and is now a circuit court judge. So we were up against law enforcement at that one. Sheriff Tome came in, testified in support of it. And so, yeah, it could really be the whole angle, in all honesty, Jason. But I think that the thing that we need to remind the committee is that the people voted for this, and to take this away, especially by way of the legislature, when this was a citizen brought initiative, does not respect the will of the voter, and that threatens their seat. The people who are against this, Travis Ismay and the folks that signed on to this bill, signed on to it out of ignorance for cannabis. And so what's their angle? And the things you listed, the answer to that would be yes. Can they articulate any of that? I'm not sure how well they can do that. But that's really what we know at this point.
Can I ask a question?
You bet.
What kind of tax revenue does the state get from all of this?
Normal tax. So cannabis is taxed at the normal rate.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, they're already having money problems this year. Does this help the general fund any or anything like that, or just?
So I can answer this. Numbers wise, for what cannabis has brought in for tax since we have started operating is $7 million of revenue to the state of South Dakota. And that's with a small patient pool that we have. And I mean, just under 12,000 people are putting that amount of money, plus operators with their licensing fee are putting that amount of money into the state's economy. we look at what numbers just came out on tourism for holiday sales, and they were low. And so there's concern that there's going to be budget cuts because of that. We make up a good chunk of the budget for the state. I mean, we're not supporting it by any means, but we're definitely supporting our program.
Because I
And
haven't
that-
heard that, I really haven't heard that said anywhere. That, you know, hey, we're worth some money to you also.
Yeah, they don't want, it's interesting because there's been many asks for a report on what cannabis taxes have brought into the state, what license fees are brought into the state. And there was just some information dropped out last week that it was $7 million. And it's like, okay, well, that would have been great knowledge to know at the beginning of legislative session and maybe throughout the campaign that was run last year. 7 million off of under 12,000 people is a significant amount of money. Plus, however many licenses are out there. I do want to let everybody know we got about 8 minutes left on our meeting, 8 minutes and 1 second. So if we want to, yeah, I probably should upgrade our Zoom, but it kind of keeps us on track if we just have that good 40 minutes of exchange and get everybody going on action items. So action items are, if you have not emailed the committee, please do email the committee. Also, make sure you're emailing your local representatives. It's always interesting to see how a little pressure from what other people are hearing in their districts going to the committee, can do for whatever cause that you're bringing to them. Again, like Liz said, our goal is not to apply any pressure at this point. This is just a nice conversation of a bill that's really bad policy that we want to go away. And, Travis Ismay has proven not to be a kind person. There's plenty of video online that shows that. We don't have to throw our hands in the mud quite yet. So just get the emails out. And if you're going to be in Pierre, we can't wait to see you. I think it's super, super important to show our faces out there. And, when you're out there, make sure you shake some hands. Everybody's got a name badge on. So you just introduce yourself to whoever you want. The state works for us. And, it's always nice to make a new friend or two out there. Politics makes strange bedfellows. I love to tell people that you might find kinship with somebody that you thought you may never share values with. So I do encourage everybody to do as much introducing of yourself to people as you can. So, and that's all I have for tonight. Liz, do you want to close with anything?
I think I just want to first again thank everybody for taking the time to be here tonight. Let people know we'll be in Pierre. We absolutely, though, Melissa and I will both be in Pierre on Tuesday. Unfortunately, it didn't work out to try and set something up to meet up Monday night. But I'm looking forward to seeing everybody who can come. And if you can't come, please send those emails. And if you've got that particularly good story and you really want our lawmakers to hear it, submit that as testimony. So that becomes official record on Tuesday. And I think I just want to remind everybody that we're looking at two bills, House Bill 1101 and House Bill 1124. 1124 strikes one single line from the law. And that line says that you do not have to possess a registry card to basically qualify for patient protections. We want to keep that one sentence. But yeah, thank you guys again for all your time and attention to this.
Thanks for
Thank
keeping us in the
everyone.
loop.
Absolutely. Anybody else got anything else? All right. Well, we'll see you Tuesday. And for those of you not coming on Tuesday, we'll definitely get you an update as soon as we have one, which will probably be about 2 seconds after the vote is cast in the committee meeting. And then we'll see you here next Sunday night for our Sunday night town hall. As we get ready to wrap up legislative session, things could get a little hairy. There's 5 vehicle bills in each chamber that only have titles and no substance. So there's still an opportunity that they could introduce some bad stuff, but we're keeping an eye on it. So I hope you keep joining us on Sunday evenings. We do love having everybody.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
You guys have a great night. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. You too.
Bye.